How you doing? I work in advertising. I'm not a bad guy. There's a saying about great salesmen, that a great salesman could sell snowballs to an Eskimo. And that's great. You know, it'd be nice to sell that first initial product, but that's not going to build a business. What builds a business is actually selling a subscription to the snowballs, or selling snowballs once the first one melts, and then you can sell another one. And that's really where you make your money. That's how you build brands. A lot of people don't realize that, and a lot of businesses don't realize that. Here's one of them that doesn't realize that. We've all been in a supermarket, we've had to cook for 20 people, and we need to buy a lot of root vegetables and potatoes and carrots, and we've seen one of these and you say, wow, this would make my life so easy. And then you get home, you start peeling potatoes, and it just ruins your life. But here's one that's wonderful. This is one that's called, Good Grips by OXO. And if you ever use one of these, you'll never stop peeling potatoes because it's just beautiful. It is wonderful to use. It's a great user experience. It doesn't suck like the other one. And a lot of people say, well, user experience, that's got to be so hard. I'm uniquely qualified to talk about this because not only am I an advertiser, I'm actually trained as a product designer. So before I became Darth Vader, I knew about making good products for people. And it's easy. It's about making happy Eskimos. Right? So I can make you a great snowball, and you would love it, and you want to buy it, or I can make you a crappy snowball, you'd use this, I'm never going to buy from that guy again. So it's pretty simple. And the interesting thing is that as an advertiser, I'm sorry, I was waiting, I'm trying to catch up, I'm too fast. No matter how good your product is, if your advertising is crappy, you're not going to buy the product. Pun intended. Okay, so there's like 6 ways that make selling products easy. One of them is design. As an ex-product designer, design is very important. And the beautiful thing about design is that you don't notice it when it's doing its job properly. So you can buy a product, you can say, wow, it was beautiful. And the reason why it was beautiful was the design. So here's a guy who designed a peanut butter jar that works great because at the end of the jar, you can just flip it over and open the other side and get the peanut butter out. So that's better. It doesn't matter how the peanut butter tastes because I can get it all out. So that makes product design, that makes design great. Out of product design, you get simplicity. And simplicity is so important, we kind of forget about it because we try and pack a lot of information into a very concise experience that most people have with the things that they buy. And Google knows this. Google's very good at this because they say, okay, what do you want to do? I want to search. Fine, here's a search engine. It's a box with a search button. And Yahoo fucks it up because Yahoo goes, oh, do you want some gossip from celebrities? Do you want to check your email? Do you want some news? And they screw it all up. And then coming out of usability, because coming out of simplicity is great usability. And listen, if your consumers have to ask you, how do I use your product, you've already lost them. You've lost them, and you're never going to get them back. So making a product that's easy to use is very important, and Apple knows this. Little known fact, Apple sucks as an MP3 player. There are much better MP3 players out there. This is an Argos on the right-hand side. It has many more functions, but people don't care about functions. They care about pulling an MP3 player out of their pocket and using it easily. What am I on to now? I'm on to now flexibility. Who's a fan of duct tape? Speaks for itself, right? It does everything. If you can make a product that does everything, people are going to love you. Let people play with your product, like Twitter does. There's no business model for Twitter. Twitter doesn't do anything. It lets people send 140 character messages around the world, but it allows people to do things with that. It's an ecosystem. It's not a product. And if you can create one of those, you're in great shape. Next is differentiation. So stand out from the crowd. Don't be like everyone else. And if you can create a difference between you and your competitors, that's a beautiful thing. And what comes up? Oh, Virgin. Virgin does this beautifully. And honestly, it's probably a lot to do with their CEO. He's a great guy. He's very interesting. But what he says is, British Airways says, oh, we'll get you to the United States for cheap. He says, we'll get you to space for even cheaper. Now, that's a way of creating differentiation. And then finally, it's about perception. And if you think about my product better and differently than other people think about my competitors' products, I win. And you're going to see a great example of that right here in a second when it comes up. Right now, here you go. There it is. Budweiser. What they did was in the States a couple of years ago, some other brands started saying, we're going to put on use-by dates. Budweiser said, screw you, we sell much more product than you do. We're going to sell born-on dates. So you would buy a 6-pack of Budweiser and you would say, oh, it was made last week. Fabulous, even better. And just because it would be a crime to end the presentation on Arthur's Day with Budweiser, here's Guinness, greatest product of all time. Go out tonight and have one and you'll love it. because that's the greatest user experience of all time. Thank you.